Maceration is a process that plays an important role in the composition of the color and sensory properties of red wine. The amount of grape skin contact with the juice, the length of time of that contact, and the temperature at which this happens are all at play. Winemakers use various techniques and vessels including pump overs, punch downs, concrete eggs, stainless steel vats, wooden vats, small barriques, and more. Winemaker Michael Bartier explains that these are all part of a big decision tree that ultimately shapes the finished wine. Here he explains his thinking, or his decision tree, when it comes to South Okanagan Syrah and the vagaries of each vintage.
Syrah is a remarkably expressive grape. It's unmistakable when you have a glass of Syrah in front of you. The aromas that come off the glass, when you taste it, it is absolutely Syrah. It can be from anywhere in the world, and from anywhere in the world it will taste incredibly different, but it is unmistakably Syrah. The maceration is what sets the tone, is what's going to trap, those aromas in the wine. So the maceration, the actual crushing of the grapes, and then how you treat those grapes while they're crushed, while they're being fermented, that really is going to show forever, in the life of that wine. It's very important to understand that with winemaking, all that you really have is the moment in front of you, and you have to make a decision. And winemaking is a decision-making tree, and starting out at the moment that you're at right now. And from there, you go to the next decision. And you have to consider what you have, what the grapes taste like, or what their condition is right now, and you have to consider their history as well. What do you know about where has this been, and where you want to go with this, and you work your way to the next decision, and every point it becomes even more unique, through that massive decision-making tree.
Bartier has noted that in certain years, a specific maceration technique can play a huge part in determining the quality of the fruit that ends up in his Syrah.
Yeah, well, for example, the 2015 vintage, really hot vintage, and worryingly hot, in the sense that you're worried that the fruit might get a little bit too baked, and it was very important to preserve what fruit that we actually had there. So we looked at the maceration, the actual skin contact time during the fermentation, with the juice. We decided to ferment them in very small, enclosed, hermetically sealed almost, vessels. This is very difficult to do. It's very labor intensive, but it worked quite well. What we did was we took the heads off of some barrels, we crushed and we destemmed the fruit into the barrels. We put the heads back onto the barrels and laid the barrels down, put them onto some wooden racks, and twice a day we would roll them down the racks, roll them back. And what that accomplished was it got those skins wet and allowed the goodness to come out of the skins. Carbon dioxide is being produced during that fermentation, and it's escaping out of a little purge valve that we have at the top of the barrel, and it didn't have any opportunity to let any air in there. And of course, air is the enemy. Avoiding the air like this during the maceration, also known, as reductive winemaking. Well, it's the exact opposite of oxidation. And you can imagine if you were to take a slice of apple and leave it out on the counter, once the air gets out of that, it doesn't take long for it to spoil. We don't want the air to spoil our wine. Using the 2015 Syrah as the example, the result, it was a great success. We had a wine from a hot vintage, which of course was a very full-bodied, quite dense, quite thick, intense wine. This quite a beast, but it had this beautiful, remarkably pure fruit character. It was lovely.